I would like to thank for the opportunity given for me to speak again in the Arab Organization for Human Rights in UK. And I think this is a very important subject that we are discussing. It is the current situation, the geopolitical situation in Palestine. And I will speak about the importance of the continuation of the ceasefire and the agreement, and as well as the Gaza relief and reconstruction. However, I think I must also address a bit on Trump's remarks on Gaza. I think perhaps everybody else will also say something about that. So what did he say? What were Trump's remarks? Initially, he said that the US will take over the Gaza Strip and will do a job with it too. And we will own it and blah, 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 blah. So I think that's the remarks that he has been given. He has given. And he also said that it will become a home to the world's people. And he likened it to the Riviera of the Middle East. Or maybe he was also referring to his own style, Mar-a-Lago. But most recently, he said that his proposal for mass displacement in Gaza does not include a right of return for Palestinians in the enclave. And adding that, at the same time, he adds as well that Egypt and Jordan would take in the Palestinians as US gives Egypt and Jordan billions of dollars a year. So what were opinions about the remarks? There were widespread condemnation. It was inflammatory, outlandish, shameful, outrageous, land grab, most foolish idea, beyond any rational thinking or any kind of policy feasibility, and simply nuts and crazy. But I think it is not something which is shocking coming out from Trump. There were also other opinions about this. Remarks were saying that senior Hamas official condemned Trump's calls for Gazans to leave as expulsion from their land. And we consider them a recipe for generating chaos and tension in the region because the people of Gaza will not allow such plans to pass. Removing all Palestinians from Gaza is tantamount to destroying them as a people. Gaza is their home. Gaza's death and destruction is a result of the government of Israel killing civilians by thousands, often with US bombs. And I think a lot of people have been saying this as well, that it is a simply ethnic cleansing by another name. And it also constitutes a crime against humanity. So what I would say is that this is something which I don't think is shocking because of two factors. Number one is because Israel's plan was from the beginning forced displacement, annexation, bombardment, genocide, ethnic cleansing, settler colonialism. So that is something which is already there. And secondly, the factor of this is part of Netanyahu's Gaza 2035 vision. You probably are aware about this vision of taking over and having the crisis to prosperity, from crisis to prosperity, plan for transformation of Gaza Strip. And this was a document reportedly released by Netanyahu's office in May of 2024. And the plans outline a four-step plan that begins with dismantling Hamas, followed by a period of humanitarian aid, rebuilding, and finally self-governance. And in the rebuild phase, the plan mentions the removal of rubble, followed by the building of modern cities from scratch, devoid of social, ecological, and any historical accountability. So Trump's remarks, I think, were not shocking because this is aligned with these two factors. But it was shocking only because of the manner that he raised it and spoken alongside with the occupier, the aggressor, and the criminal of humanity, Netanyahu, right by his side. And that to me is shocking. It is a kind of real estate developer, capitalist, and business-minded construct, or at worst, imperialism at its work. So, viewers, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's my take on what Trump's remarks were. But coming back to relief and reconstruction and the importance of continuation of the ceasefire and the agreement, I remember a statement given out by our Prime Minister, Malaysia's Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, on 16th of January, which he said, upon announcement of the ceasefire agreement, he said, the critical step provides much needed relief for the people of Gaza who have endured such immense suffering. The international community must ensure that it is upheld, paving the way for talks on subsequent phases that will lead to sustainable calm and the reconstruction of Gaza. And he then talks about the partnership with Japan for early collaboration on the reconstruction of Gaza. And he was referring to the East Asia Reconstruction Plan for Gaza or Palestine under what's called a CPAD, where there is a cooperation among East Asian countries to develop or redevelop Palestine. So, and there is an opportunity now to set up a fund to ensure that that would be a reconstruction for Gaza. And yesterday, together with Erdogan was here in Malaysia. He was in, I think, today in Indonesia. And together with Erdogan, our Prime Minister further mentioned that ASEAN, with Malaysia as the chair, has taken a firm position in support of a long-lasting ceasefire, with Malaysia pledging utmost support to the territory's reconstruction efforts. So what I'm saying is actually there are efforts, there are thinking about how we would be able to actually reconstruct Gaza. But let's also understand what sort of reconstruction are we talking about. Israeli air attacks have left more than 42 million tons. This was in August. I think as of now, it's probably 50 million tons of debris or rubble across the strait. And that's enough rubble to fill a line of dump trucks stretching from New York to Singapore. So I don't know how much that is, but it's tremendous. And removing it all will take many, many years. It will probably cost about maybe billions. And Erdogan put it at about $100 billion and call for Israel to bear the cost. So the task will be very complicated because there will be unexploded bombs, there will be dangerous contaminants, and human remains under the rubble. So there are other complexities as well, such as disposal sites, property rights, hidden expenses. The question is, who is going to pay for this? Who's going to fund for this? Rebuilding Gaza and the lives of its residents will require a complete overhaul of its entire physical infrastructure and some form of political solution over what a new Gaza will look like. But before any of that can happen, relief and humanitarian aid, the collection and disposal of the rubble, the ceasefire must go on. And it's of paramount importance. So, ladies and gentlemen, viewers, my hope is for the following. Number one, that ceasefire must continue according to the agreement. Number two, relief and reconstruction must not be under any particular country's agenda or plans, must be under the supervision and auspices of UN with clear principles of rights, ownership, and governance. Number three, reconstruction coordinated without prejudice, forced displacement, or real estate agenda, but with involvement and empowerment to the people of Palestine. And in fact, it should also go hand in hand with efforts to establish an independent Palestine. Number four, relief and humanitarian aid must be provided, not used as a bargaining chip to coerce Palestinians in leaving Gaza. Number five, rules of law must be honored, i.e., compliance with international laws. Therefore, United Nations, ICJ, and ICC must be respected and empowered to execute and enforce the law. And lastly, those who are against will be exposed and must be isolated, in fact, sanctioned and be held accountable. I understand that there have been talks about reconstruction of Gaza since last year. However, I agree, based on my hopes above, that there is an urgent need to call on the UN Secretary General to convene an international conference on Gaza relief and reconstruction. And I do hope that the Arab states will come out with their own plans, as mentioned by King Jordan today or yesterday, that the Arab states will come out with their own plan of reconstruction for Gaza. So thank you again for the opportunity. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.